Zimbabwe itself. Z-I-Z is a prefix for a big thing. For example, if you want to say big Philip, you say in Shona, you say Z Philip.
Don't do that.
Right? And then Mba, it is a root word for house. We say Imba in Shona, meaning the house. Then Ibre is a root word for stone. Ibre, meaning the stone. So the meaning of the word Zimbabwe is the big houses of stones. And this is derived from the stone structures that we have in Zimbabwe. We have more than 150 documented sites with dry stone walls, which is a contemporary Zimbabwe culture. Great Zimbabwe was built between 1200 and 1500 AD by the Shona-speaking people who were known as Vakaranga. It is said that the king had power over life and death. He could declare war or make peace. So he was a highly respected figure in the community. Great Zimbabwe was the royal capital of South Central Africa, whose influence was stretching right to the present country of Botswana, northern part of South Africa, Mozambique, Zambia, and some parts of Central Africa. During its peak of power and prosperity, Great Zimbabwe accommodated more than 25,000 adults. And I would like to think back in the medieval time, it was even bigger than London. Right?
Yeah.
Well, the Shona people were depending on agriculture, agro-based economy, with a wide range of trade links, trading with the Portuguese, Chinese, English, Dutch, and this is supported with some artifacts which were found here at Great Zimbabwe during excavation period. A good example being the Chinese celadon, pottery from China, which dates back to the Ming dynasty. Ming dynasty in China, that is from 1488 to 1505. We have bracelets, necklaces, which were acquired through trade. And trade was a way of consolidating the king's power. We see means of production, interdependence of communities. Right? Great Zimbabwe was also serving as a religious center. Religion plays a very crucial role in our lives. It is used as a unifying factor. And with that respect, we see all the communities coming to converge at Great Zimbabwe for rain-making ceremonies, ceremonies of appeasing ancestral spirits, right? Like the Mecca in Saudi Arabia, the Vatican City in Rome. And with that respect, we see all the people coming to converge at Great Zimbabwe for ritual activities. Great Zimbabwe is lying on the edge of a central plateau, which is rich in mineral deposits. And the Shona people were involved in mining of gold, iron, and copper. Gold was used for trade, for barter trade, good-to-good exchange without the use of currency. And copper was also used for making implements like hoes, axes, and knives. Crucibles of gold pieces, iron, copper, were also found here at Great Zimbabwe. And about 4,000 pounds of gold was discovered in Great Zimbabwe during excavation period. And one interesting thing to note, most of these modern mines are situated on sites of ancient workings, suggesting that our forefathers were greatest explorers ever. With agriculture, trade, mining, and religion, we see the prosperity of this kingdom. Then later, around 1450, we see the gradual decline of the empire. Reasons: we have environmental factors. As the number of people increased, the land became so small to sustain the whole population. We see depletion of resources. Try to imagine such a large population relying on one source of water. We see spread of waterborne diseases, people dying, and in our culture, every death is associated with evil spirits. And they thought maybe this area was haunted, so they had to leave. We had also internal conflicts, brother fighting brother for leadership. And once you're defeated, you run away to save your life. That is if you're a gentleman enough. So see people dispersing from Great Zimbabwe. This might have been fueled by the system of succession. The leadership at Great Zimbabwe was passed from a brother to a brother, or from the father to the son, a Delphic kind of succession. And we see a lot of avarice growing among brothers. This is a common phenomenon across the whole nations. I've read a book from Shakespeare, Macbeth, and I'm sure good people, you do agree with me that this is not only confined to the Shona culture. It's across the whole nations. And this has been happening over the years, up until 1675, where we left with the Mangwa people as traditional custodians of Great Zimbabwe. The Mangwa were replaced by the Mugabe clan. Mugabe is not related to the Honorable President of Zimbabwe. This is a local chief from this community. And one will ask a question, why are you saying they're not related to the president? We are identified by our totems. There's this thing called totem. We are identified by a sacred animal within the family setup. And that animal is sacred to the whole clan. You're not allowed to eat the meat of that animal, neither to marry a girl of the same totem, considered an incest. Right? So this chief from this community is of the heart totem, whereas the president is of different totem altogether. Right? Around 1800, we see the coming of the first European to see and report on the existence of Great Zimbabwe, Mr. Karl Mauch, a German geologist, a German traveler. And then 1891, we see the coming of the company called BSA, a company which was owned by Mr. Susu John Rhodes, under a subsidiary company known as the Ancient Ruins Company. And they had to set a police post where we have our museum today. Main purpose was to keep and protect relics and ruins. Looking back in history, 1800 is best described by historians as a period of scramble for Africa. And it was an ideal to have a police post to guard against fortune hunters. Otherwise, all these structures would have been ransacked in the process. 1937, Great Zimbabwe was declared a national monument from traditional ownership, private ownership, and it became a government property in 1937. Then in 1980, this site gave its name to the country, Zimbabwe, the only cultural site in the world which gave its name to the country. Declared a World Heritage Site in 1986, inscribing under UNESCO because of its value in terms of cultural and, of course, scientific and educational, to impart the knowledge to babies and sucklings, that is in short, right? This is what we have in brief. Well, like I said earlier on, good people, that this area was subdivided into 3 major sections. Up on the hill is where the king and his immediate members resided. In our Shona culture, kings are referred to as mountains, living on higher grounds, ritually secluded. In metaphoric or in poetic recitations, we say the mountain has fallen down, referring to the death of the king. In Shona, we say Gomorawa, which means the king has died. There we are looking at the veneration and elevation, loneliness or majesty of boulders is comparable to a king. Down in the valley, we have ordinary people like Philip, Daniel, right? And then the valley structures and great enclosure were occupied by the wives of the king. So what it suggests is wherever you see some stone structures, it is an indication that one from the royal family lived there. So the stone structures mark social status. Royal families within the stone walls, and then ordinary people outside the walls. Right? And what we have here are known as dry stone walls, built without mortar, no cement. just piling stones one on top of the other. The Great Zimbabwe area is surrounded by granite outcrops, which were formed from volcano. And the nature of this rock, it is found in layers, layer upon layer, like an onion peelage. And due to climatic changes, hot and cold, the rock expands and contracts, hence forming cracks. Our forefathers had to apply the same physical method of building fire along the rock crevices. Then sudden pouring of water over the fire would make these rocks crack and take screws to build the structures. So it was a sort of a value consensus, an obligation. Waking up in the morning before washing off your face, you would go out there to fetch stones and contribute towards construction of the walls. Now you get a lot of questions. Probably there was an element of slavery in a way. No, it was not like that. This was a stratified society. There was a division of labor. So bringing stones was like a day-to-day activity, a norm. Right? Thank you so much, good people. Any question before we leave?
That was excellent.
Yeah.